baby.
We in here, yeah, we in here, 'cause we been.
Y'all better get comfortable with saying black.
We in here, yeah, we in here,
Black versus the Board of Education.
'cause we been here, we in here, yeah, we in here, 'cause we been here, and you know that we know, and we in here, 'cause we been here.
That's why we are indeed a whole mood.
That's it.
Welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Black versus the Board of Education. My name is Miss Laureen, and I welcome you into this space. Sorry, we are a little tardy for the party, but that's okay. We're going to get it popping right on time. Today, we are talking with Trustee Area 4, right? Area 4 Trustee, Miss Delia Baldwin. But before we put her on screen, we want to let you know who's in the building. So I'm going to start with you. Y'all going to make your way around the table, and then we're going to end off with Miss Melissa, and then we'll go right to Miss Baldwin. So, Mr. Fox, hey.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I always say happy money, but grinding Monday.
Monday. I'm like, money's on your mind. Oh, snap. Well, welcome back for another episode. Right next to you is
Mr. Chastain. Happy to see y'all. Happy to be back.
Now bring that closer to you so we can
Let's
make
get
sure.
it in.
Okay. And new to the discussion today, I had to call in reinforcements because I don't like being outnumbered by the fellas. So joining us for her first episode, come on and tell them who you are.
Well, hello. My name is Madison Brodeur, and I am her executive assistant in the building.
And not only is she my executive assistant, she is also now my co-host because she don't know what she's in for, Melissa. I'm a break her in slow. And then right over here, hey.
James, what's going on?
James is back. And then on the screen, joining us from campus, go ahead and introduce yourself, love.
My name is Melissa, and I am a sophomore at UC Berkeley.
So now, I don't know if y'all could tell it, but I'm sounding a little smoky today. Can y'all tell that? A little bit? Just a little bit. We spent the weekend with UCAN at their college fairs, getting to know a bunch of students. And then we were at Sac State and talking to those students. And so we worked even yesterday up until about 7 o'clock. And my voice is like, girl, go sit down somewhere. But I'm here with you. And I'm so excited because I got my sister in the building, Miss Delia Baldwin. Go ahead and give her a round of applause because we don't have the soundboard and it's acting crazy. And that's okay. So why don't you go ahead and just give us a short introduction? I know I said your name, but tell us something spectacular about yourself.
Something spectacular. Well, I am a proud mom.
Of
3 kiddos, 2 that are in elementary school and 1 that is in high school. I've been trying to get her to come and do this podcast.
Oh, Cynthia be acting like she's scared, but I'm gonna pull her
She's
soon.
gonna be way better at this than I am.
I doubt it because you are running for re-election, right? And with that comes a certain level of responsibility. So can you tell us, so this is your first campaign though, right?
Yes. I've not done a campaign before. So
are you scared? Or I mean, like how's that going? Jumping into the campaign world?
I'm kind of like ready for anything.
Okay.
I think for the most part, I'm just kind of like trying to see what's going to happen and, put myself out there and make it work because I want to stay in this role.
And I know what they're thinking. They're like, okay, but you're a trustee currently and you've never run a campaign, which means you probably weren't elected. So tell me, how did you get in your seat right now? How did you
I was appointed. So I'm the newest board member, apart from our student trustee that we just appointed as well. But in February, there was a vacancy. And so I put my name in the hat despite, who else was going to be in there, the contenders. And I think I was probably an underdog in that challenge, but I was willing to put my name out there and make sure that we had someone who represented our area that has kids in the district, who's accesses education through multiple avenues and really has an experience that I think is important, that is reflective of our district. And so that's what I did.
And I know we're talking like we're bringing them up to speed because I already know all this stuff. And I know they're like, wait, how did you know that? Wait, what? That wasn't part of our question. Wait, what's going on? So when you're appointed, you were appointed to kind of finish out the previous term.
Mhm.
So that was Gina Jamerson's seat.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. And so now you're having to get your feet wet. So have you been door knocking or any of that good stuff?
Not quite door knocking, mostly just getting out to the schools. So I've visited every school site that's in Area 4.
How many schools is that?
So we have actually just Laguna Creek High School and then about 5 elementary. So Joseph Sims, Elliott Ranch, Marion Mix, John Earhart, and Stone Lake Elementary.
And then you have a junior high or
we don't.
You don't? Wait,
Area
Eddie is not your junior high?
It's not in, it's the feeder school.
It
for
is the
Laguna
feeder
Creek.
school.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
But it's not a part of Area 4. But I still make sure I get out to Area Eddie. So I have.
We should go together.
Let's do it.
I think we would have a really great time if we both walked in at the same time.
At the same time.
So with that, I'm gonna just let you guys go. So I'll let you start, and then you guys just pick a question and rapid fire, and I'm gonna pop in when I want to. So what question do you have, Mr. Fox?
I wanted to know, since you was appointed, the correct terminology, appointed to your seat, and now you're campaigning, what do you feel has prepared you for what campaigning actually is? Because it's one thing to talk about that campaign, and then
No, for sure. I think being in the seat gives me the advantage of knowing what this role takes.
Okay.
Also having my kids in the district, seeing hands-on like the real issues that are affecting families and kiddos. I have a son that is in special education, and then my daughter and my other son are in gen ed. So being able to see the full spectrum of what we offer at our K6 schools and then at the high school is really important. And so currently right now, I'm also very deep into what we're currently working on right now. We have a really tough choice and decisions that need to be made soon regarding our ESSER funds because they're running out. And so we're going to have to make a decision around what are the priorities. So that's one of the things that's
okay. And I want you to pause there because you said ESSER funds. And for those of us, other folks who don't know, what the ESSER funds were, the funds that came down because of COVID.
Correct.
Okay. And so those are now dwindling and running out. And so we're going to have to reprioritize where the budget, where we're going to allocate funds,
right?
With our budget coming up, right?
Yeah.
Melissa, I'm gonna throw it to you, and then we'll come back to Mr. Chastain, and then
what are your top 3 priorities for the next term?
I think for the next term, my top 3 priorities mainly are going to be really digging into special education and making sure that we have accessible opportunities for families to really understand and navigate the system. It's a very complex situation because IEPs are individualized learning plans. So every kiddo's plan is going to look different, and the teachers are expected to make sure that they implement with fidelity all the supports that are necessary.
And you heard that word expected, which means it's not optional.
No,
but go
it's
ahead.
not. It's legally binding. So it's really important for our families to really understand how to navigate that process and for us to be really transparent about the changes that we're making, the impacts it's having in the classroom, and really just being open to suggestions and feedback and making sure that we're being mindful of how it affects our kids. This is something I've personally been dealing with my son as he started this year. It's been really challenging.
You ain't call me.
I haven't had to escalate it that far yet. But we're working on it. We're working on it. So special education, very close to my heart. Also just really wanting to work on wellness initiatives and making sure particularly that our students who are struggling know that it's okay to not be okay and to reach out to resources. I have my daughter is 16 years old and she's amazing in my eyes, but I know there's days where that's hard for her and it's hard for her peers. And it's important that us as adults in this system are ensuring that our kids have caring adults that are willing to come in and support them and provide the expertise, the support needed to get them through.
And again, I haven't received a phone call. But go ahead.
Particularly the things that you all do. I think, Lauren, we go back from when she started middle school.
Yes.
And I happened to find Lauren.
She had a 504.
Yes. And we were having significant issues. And Lauren had to coach me up quick on what to do in these meetings and not cry. And I'm like, I can't do it, girl.
Right.
Being strong. But yeah, no, I think that network, like falling into the girls group for my daughter, for me, the ally group, like it was life-changing. And I think there's so many of those opportunities already happening right here in our community that we need to be better at networking.
Yeah,
We need to be
for
better
sure.
at reaching out and saying,
Mhm.
we don't got it all. We don't know it all. We need the experts from our community.
Well, I pissed him off, so I didn't really expect him to call me, but I just wanted to put that out there. And then your third priority. So you
Yes.
said special education, wellness, and what's your third one?
So the third one would be around how are we addressing our like offload and like sites. So for students, families, when your school is impacted, you don't get to go to your neighborhood school. And so that means you get offloaded and then you have to deal with transportation. We have families that have kids that go to high school, middle school, and elementary, and they all start at the same time. So it is almost impossible to get your kids there on time,
Right.
catch the bus on time. Our buses are the routes take you, can be depending how far away you're getting offloaded, and especially if you throw a special ed kid in there,
Mhm.
they're going to take a whole separate bus. It's going to give you door-to-door service. However, you might be on that bus for up to an hour before you got to be at school. So there's just things that we really need to figure out. We do utilize track in the district, and I know a lot of people have their opinions about it, but it does allow us the year-round calendar so that we can not have to build more schools frequently, and it allows like a whole like quarter of the populations to be at the school while another group is off track. And
Right.
so that's really helpful in the way that we are able to still provide education to our students in their neighborhoods. But when a school is not a track school, they're on that traditional calendar and then they have to go to a track, it's extremely hard. So there's all kinds of like issues around how are we really making sure that we're meeting the needs and being, adaptable.
Gotcha. Mr. Chastain.
So I appreciate the three priorities. The two I want to be able to speak on, is the special education and the wellness, but in all actuality, the mental health of the students as well as administration, right? Well, what happens with that? How do we maintain that? How do we take care of that? Because we just left the school and there's a lot of mental issues going on with the kids where we're a barrier between them and administration, right?
Yeah.
And administration is kind of like, I don't know, they're burnt out already. School just started and they're burnt out already. We've seen a few things that are going on in school. So how do we implement something for the kids' mental health as well as the teachers' mental health?
Yeah, I think so for our teachers, staff, all the classified, certified staff, administrators, we have robust benefits packages. And so it's so important that our team takes advantage of those benefits because there's resources available that we can't easily extend to students, right? For students, we have to create a program. We have to reach out to the resources and make sure that those networks are in place. But for our staff and teachers, it's so important that they understand what benefits are available and being able to leverage those benefits so that they can take care of themselves, because you cannot take care of these babies if you don't take care of yourself. And that's what's really, really important.
Right.
We do campaigns around our benefits programs to, do wellness campaigns, encourage staff to, get physically out, do moving, to, looking at mental health resources as well. So it's really important. I think it's hard because, our older generations, those were not things that we really tapped into, right? We didn't grow up knowing wellness. Oh, talk about my feelings.
Right.
That's okay. So, social emotional learning, it needs to happen across
Absolutely.
the whole spectrum. You can't just be focused on what does that look like in the classroom. It needs to be focused on what does that look like in in our learning communities and how we're being mindful of professional development and looking at how can we really support the adults that are putting their all into our kids. Because if we, like I said, you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be in a position to take care of others.
Miss Madison.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that response. And piggybacking off of that, So since Black students and families often feel unseen or unsupported throughout their academic journey, how do you plan to address the racial disparities, access to programs, and their academic outcomes?
Yes, it's so important. It has to be a balance of the two. You can't address one without the other.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we just hold firm to our commitment to our students of color, particularly our Black students, because we know that we have been in a position where we have not done right by them. And it's so important that we own it, that we are transparent, that we are clear about the mistakes and the wrongs that we've done, and look towards the future to make sure that we are not continuing down that path. So it's so important to connect and leverage the resources in the community to really make sure that our students don't continue to be in a place where they feel silenced. And I think as board members, it's important for us, who are allies, we need to speak up, and we have to use the dais in powerful ways to make sure that kids and teachers, our community entirely, knows that we care about all students reaching their highest potential, because that's what our district is founded on. That's what we thriving for all students to be successful. And we're looking at college and career ready. So whatever pathway that a child wants exposure to should have that, despite the challenges and the barriers. And it's our job to make sure that we address those and that those barriers don't exist.
James.
So I have a quick question. So when you talked about like access to different programs and advocating for students and teachers, I'm just gonna copy right off the sheet. What role specifically when it comes to the board, what role should the board play in holding administrators accountable for implementing policies equitably?
Yeah, so with the board's primary job is to hire and fire the superintendent.
Thank you.
We're getting ready to do.
I was about to tell him.
Not gonna fire him, but we are fitting to hire
anyway.
So he is going to
Let
retire.
me be nice.
And I hope you gave us some feedback, girl.
I did. I had to take the survey only because they never sent me an invitation. What they did was they said, what they did was we scheduled you at this time. They didn't give me any options of when I could pop in. And that's unacceptable, especially when people be out here working. I'm gonna need some options. I'm gonna need at least 3 because they didn't really want me there is what I feel. But I did do the survey because we're not playing that.
And what that survey did is essentially helps our consultants create the job description. And so from there, we're utilizing the feedback from the community.
I'm petty, right? I'm like better than Chris.
Stop.
Okay, I'll be nice.
And then, but essentially that's like our main focus, right? Is policy and approving policy and making sure that we have the leadership that's required to move our district to meet our mission and vision. And so I would say the board's job is to be aware, is to get out and learn. Like, this is not a full-time job for board members. We all have jobs in addition to us. Some of us are fortunate to be retired, but not me. And so we have to make time. We have to get out. We have to meet the school sites, teachers, students, families. Right now, I'm trying to get out and meet more PTOs so I can hear from families, like, tell me from your perspective, because that's what's going to inform how we make decisions on the dais.
Yeah.
If we just arbitrarily look at data and reports and hear presentations of like, oh yeah, this is what's best for the district, without going and seeing for ourselves, what does this look like in action?
Right.
What does this look like in the trenches? Get the feedbacks, talk to stakeholders. Like, that is all going to be, it's not going to be beneficial. And so, I think it's really important that we get out there and meet everybody as best we can, get to hear the local issues that are going on. Because what happens at one site ain't always the same thing that's happening at others. Area 4, we're really fortunate area. We might not have the same issues that some of my other colleagues' areas are going to face, and particularly Northern Elk Grove or South Sac.
Right.
It's important for me to get over there because I don't just represent Area 4 schools. I represent the whole district. And I care about all the babies in our district, not just the kids going to, Harriet Eddy, that's the feeder to Laguna or Laguna Creek and all the elementaries. all our students matter and our sites matter. And it's important that we understand the issues happening locally so that the decisions we make on the dais are going to be appropriate.
And just so I'm clear, I know I make a lot of jokes in terms of the superintendent currently. He and I have had a interesting dynamic over the last couple of years, and I'm very clear about where I stand with him. I think that he's done a disservice to the Black students in this community. I think that it was easier to ignore the issue or to gaslight the issue than to actually take the issue for what it was. And I think that unfortunately, what I've seen, especially from our board members, they've been reluctant to hold him to task. They kind of hold him up as the person who knows the system, therefore he can do no wrong. And so with this new superintendent coming in, I want to ask you, will you be open to holding them accountable if they're falling short of the goal that makes sure that all students are actually cared for in the ways that make them actually want to be a part of the learning community and start to feel embraced by the learning community? Can we have your commitment on
Absolutely, 100%.
that? Thank you, sir.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because he's never been given an evaluation. Like, how do you do a job all this time and you're never given an evaluation, but they keep increasing your pay? And Black students are at the bottom of every statistical category except discipline, where they're the highest. You know what I mean? How do you continue to receive pay raises and that is not being addressed? When I first started coming on the scene and I was really vocal about everything going on, they were doing something called the equity report that lasted probably about 1 to 2 years, and then it slowly faded away. Attitude reflects leadership. Your teachers are failing because your superintendent allowed them to. He is the one that the buck stops with. And people need to understand that the school board has certain limitations on them. Yes, they can hire and fire him, but my understanding is you would have to have a search committee to find his replacement if you were to get rid of him. So what type of accountability, and I'm sorry, I just jumped back in. What type of accountability measures are in place for the board to actually hold a superintendent responsible instead of continuing to increase his pay? Because I think his pay is really close to $500,000.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a very uncomfortable conversation because publicly they all have to come, all the cabinet members have to share how much they make and all of that. And a lot of it is based on how we handle our negotiations and trying to be equitable in terms of the calculations. So it is very challenging. This is an area that I'm still learning, negotiations and how we handle our bargaining. But when it comes to holding the superintendent accountable, there are things that we can do very publicly in our board meetings, on the dais. Those are the things the public sees. And then there's the conversations that we have to have. We get to have one-on-one with the superintendent. And that is something that he's always been open to, always creates the opportunity for us to have one-on-ones, particularly right before a board meeting, or just be available if we need to have, something clarified. And so
That's cool.
Definitely it's helpful, right? It's helpful to make sure that we have the conversation and we keep that conversation going. Superintendent Hoffman is going to retire. So I have not had a chance to really work with them very, very much. But I have been able to express myself when there's a disagreement or if there is a concern, particularly around issues that impact our community, because I think it's really important about the transparency and that we own it. So I would say, yes, in the next round of, that we have a superintendent, we are going to be really looking at how do we build that relationship, because there is going to be that accountability factor that is going to be very important to all of us.
It's a question on here I want to ask you. And before I ask you, I want to put some context to it, because this is the line of question I was going to. Chastain, I see the fact that you're here, I commend you, because you wouldn't even came here if you wasn't trying to be held accountable. Because you know what this is. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't see it as you making a bold statement. I just see you. Hey, you're here, and I'm here to support you.
Absolutely.
But I would like to shift, same energy, shift, not the school, not the superintendent. Me and Chastain, we go to these schools, and it seems like it doesn't matter if they hold the school board accountable if they're not going to hold the people that they hire accountable. I witnessed things like today, a boy, yes, he's of color. He couldn't get no nurse help for over an hour while she systematically picked them kids out. He was crying and everything. When it finally was pointed out to her, she said, "What are you crying for? Go back to class." Another little kid came and asked us to help him with his computer to work. I don't know how to work this computer, but I wouldn't found it for him. But I had to pull him out of his class from a teacher who he's been asking for a week to show him how to work the computer so he can download the work and actually do it. I had to take him to another teacher to do it. But all these acts was happening in front of other staff, and they didn't say nothing to help these babies. How do we hold the employees accountable? And the question on here is, you speak about wellness. If psychiatrist services are available for teachers, are they outside providers? Are the outside providers being recommended by on-site employees? I guess the question is trying to ask, how do you force employees to take these type of
you can't force them.
Not force them, but how do we get them to actually take the services, because they are offered. The teachers don't take the mental health service, but then they in there yelling at the kid.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be that paradigm shift, right? Where we have to be okay with pursuing our own wellness, and we have to model that for kids. Like right now, I bet you our children are going to know more, be emotionally intelligent than we are at that age, and that's going to be a blessing, right?
For sure.
Because in the future, we are going to need leaders who know how to have dialogue, have hard conversations, express themselves, and own their feelings without taking it out on somebody, right? Or creating, tension that isn't necessary, because you won't be able to get to the root of the issues and really problem solve, right? When it comes to teachers and like encouraging them, all the best that we can do is model for ourselves. And so I'm very open about my own wellness. Like I see a therapist on a weekly basis, and I have no problem talking about that. Right.
Yes,
and I think it's really important that people have the courage to just like be able to say, hey, this is my experience. This is how it's been for me. And it's been really helpful. I think it's really important to be having these conversations in a more open environment, so that it's not one of those things where you have to wait to be told, right? Or if someone's recommending the services to you, that means something has happened, right?
Right.
And we can't wait. We got to be preemptive. And it's really about, are we showing up being our best selves? And are we going to take the time to invest in our own wellness so that we can be better for these kids that we're serving? Because everybody signs up for this job, like it's not the most glamorous, it's not the most recognized. It's one that people do because they're passionate, because they care, because somebody was in their life, maybe that sparked that interest to be an educator.
Or they just like having summers off. Melissa.
Okay, so I have two questions. One is about something you said to one of your previous answers. I believe you said that members of the board have to share their salary, like how much they make. What is the reason behind that?
Yeah, so it's not members of the board. It's going to be
the cabinet
members. Yeah,
Cabinet,
so it's public information.
Yeah.
All public employees are. You can look it up. Like it's public information. So we do. After we've finished all negotiations and we announce, okay, this is what our we've agreed to, we then have to do the same thing for all the cabinet and administrators so that it's transparent. So the hope is that folks can see that, the district, my brain goes in between like vernacular for state language and then district stuff. But the hope is that the public sees that the district's being transparent about how we're using our funding. And so it is really challenging to look at the whole salary number. It's really important to look at the percentage. how much of the district's percentage are we spending on people versus, tangible goods, things like that. And that's really where you can see where the priorities live. And so we are actually a district, we're a solvent district. So we have good financials, and we don't actually spend as much comparatively on administrators versus like teachers, right, in general. So they make a lot, they do, but they are a small part of the employment population within the district. And so it's a very different conversation when you look at the numbers from how much are you allocating by percent versus someone's whole salary.
That makes sense.
I got confused by what you said. Their paycheck is designed to pay who now?
What's your question?
I couldn't understand what you said. I got lost in what you were saying.
She was saying
got
out of the right. Total budget, there is a percentage of monies that goes towards people versus goods, services.
So the people that's where I got lost. Are the people the teachers?
The teachers, the administrators, the cabinet.
That's where I got lost. I was seeing who was getting paid.
All the people.
And all the board members, like, I think we're given like a small stipend. So we're not paid to do our jobs.
So y'all like volunteers with a little per diem.
Just some babysitting money.
Some little babysitting money. Yeah.
That's what mine goes to.
So I have a question. You spoke on modeling emotional intelligence, right? So now this is something that he and I are very, very, very passionate about, because we had to learn and understand or have the emotional intelligence to do what we do. So how do we get emotional intelligence into the schools where it's not? How do we do that in order to model something, right? In order for us to model
this. Can I ask a clarifying question? Yes. Are you saying get it into the schools for the students or get it into the schools for the teachers?
A and B.
Okay.
They in there for the teachers. Some of them just don't want to take it.
B, you have to negotiate that with their union in order to have that training put in front of them, is my understanding. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So how do we get it to our babies?
Well, what we do have in all of our school is our PBIS. And so that is that is supposed to be a platform in which we are encouraging more of the social emotional learning, accountability, pillars of, foundations of how we want to build a school culture. And so it doesn't always jive with everybody. Right?
Well, but the problem is, see, I've been here too long. So the problem with PBIS is positive behavior intervention supports or services or something like that. Supports. So it took them 7 years to implement level 1. My understanding is now there are multiple levels with their own scenarios or offshoots. So I'm not sure if all the schools have even completed level 2 or 3 at this point, but it took them 7 years to implement level 1, which is the very basic one. Yes. And I believe it's putting up signs around all the campuses.
Wow. Yes, but incorporating it into the school culture. So
I know too much.
Depending on, I've not been to a school site where I've not seen it like work well. I know that it doesn't always touch every student, right? Not every student's going to be bought into their pillars of respect and, whatever it is that the school has laid out for their PBIS program.
That's what that is.
But essentially what that's meant to do is it's meant to build a positive culture.
You know why? The program's not a problem. It's the people that's teaching it.
Well, I'll get that, but I've seen the pillars, right? And I'm like, what is this? Respect, integrity.
But the problem is that you have disrespectful people leading the lessons in the classroom.
Facts.
It hurt,
Facts.
And these kids, they get so frustrated because they're being talked down to, they're being talked to disrespectfully. And I really want to follow up about this nurse. I'm gonna get y'all offline because I'm like,
they denied them the bathroom today.
See,
it's a lot of stuff going on.
We don't have a whole problem. Who's next? You?
Yeah, I'm next. Yeah.
Girl. Y'all about to have me jump out this. What?
So yeah, we're talking about students and what we want teachers to model in the classroom. How do you see like what is an authentic student voice and participation and specifically decision making look like to you?
Yeah, so we do have we have a board member, student board member that
What's
has
their
been
name?
selected. What is his name?
It's a boy.
It's a boy. Yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
He's from Florin High School.
Oh, wonderful.
Like Z, I forgot Z's last name, but it's XI is his first name. I want to say it might be Tran, but I'd have to look.
Okay.
So he's newer to us, and he comes to us from Florin. Before that, we had 2 student board members that were from Franklin High School, I believe, and so we're really excited for him to join us. I'm
happy that it's a boy. I'm a little concerned again that it is another Asian student. There's not been very much movement in that student board member position, and I don't believe the pool is really being considered to make sure that those voices that actually campaign and stood before the board and argued for that, they are not being represented. And shout out to him. I'm not holding this against him.
Right.
I'm talking about the fact that if we're going to have that role, it needs to be representative of all of our students and not just a certain demographic. So I'm gonna put a pin in that. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But what I was going to say is that all the students that if you're not selected as the board member, you still have the opportunity to sit on a student cabinet committee that directly communicates with the superintendent and gives feedback. And that, so all of the candidates that represent their schools, they are going to be they're on that committee. And so they have opportunities to sit with the superintendent, go through discussions, items that are of concern, things that they want to do. They handle the social media page for the district as well for the student trustee. And then we also have through our education equity, they did the student bill of rights. And so each of the schools that have their own, I believe they have
equity council.
Yes, equity councils. They also are groups on campuses that bring voice to real issues that students are facing every day. And I've just learned that my sons have at John Earhart, they have their own BSU.
Yes,
so
they
that's
just
exciting.
started implementing those on the elementary level. You just said something and I just lost my thought because what did you say before the BSUs? What did you say about
we're equity councils?
Equity councils. So again, I've been here for a very long time. What those equity councils did to those students, I remember a couple of years ago, what they did was they assigned them work to do. So they made them come up with a dictionary of terms so that they could understand what it was that they were saying and what they were advocating for. So it was not used to really give them a place to be able to vent their frustrations. They gave them more work to do on top of their schoolwork. So
on top of counter pro intel when they called them in there to make them snitch on each other, break their own incident down and made them work against each other and cause another problem.
Yeah. So it's just, I like that all these systems are in place. What I don't like is the fact that authentic student voices aren't being heard because the adults are giving them busy work to keep them occupied, so they don't really get to really put the issues on the table, which is very frustrating. But we do have another question in the chat. Hey, Miss Donetta, she says, do teachers have to participate in continuing education? If so, does it address emotional intelligence?
Yes, so teachers do continue to do professional development. And I think in some cases, they can choose to do things that are tied to emotional intelligence.
So the question is, they have to participate, but they don't have to choose emotional intelligence.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Man, what the...
Oh, no, there's, remember when I was telling y'all about the power dynamics, although, in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the org chart, teachers are at the bottom. However, they are powerful because they are represented by a union. The union normally funds elections. They fund different candidates to run. And so they have an advantage because they have these unlimited resources. They got people power, plus they have money power, right? The problem is our kids don't have that same union. That's what I said we were going to be for them, the union for the kids, right? Because at the end of the day, there has to be a power balance. And Melissa's about to, I don't know was you about to jump through the screen at me, girl? What you saying? What you saying?
Do it.
I'm a little confused because, and you can clarify if I'm understanding this wrong, right? But teachers do not have to. It's not required for them to do the emotional intelligence thing, correct?
Correct.
It's not required. So then, how do we expect what you guys were? And I'm not an Elk Grove student. I was not in the Elk Grove Unified School District. I was homeschooled, tried public school, hated it, went back to being homeschooled for this very reason. But if we don't require them to do the emotional intelligence training or whatever, how do we expect the PBIS to work? I'm a little confused on like if that is what and correct me if I'm wrong, if that's what the purpose of that is, and you're saying that it's working, how is there still a disconnect between the teachers and the students?
So what we're talking about, I think, are two different things. Only in the sense that we can't mandate teachers what they're going to continue to do for their professional development. We can offer things, right? We can say, come and participate in this, and it's going to fulfill your PD requirement. Or we can hold a professional development, a school-wide one, if the administrator found that as a priority. For when we talk about PBIS is going to be like the structure in which they can build a school culture that allows the team there to effectively manage the school culture in a way that's conducive for learning. And so that's the focus. But yes, there are adults that are not effective in emotional intelligence and understanding how to be models of the very thing.
And we're not going to put you on the spot to speak for nobody. She's just speaking generally. She's not talking about anybody.
That happens.
Right.
But
that's why professional development is so important.
I like that you point that out.
Continuous improvement is what's important. It's when we recognize, okay, I missed the mark. I messed up. There is something I can do to fix that. What can I improve? What could professionally I seek out that's going to help me get better at this? So not to put blame on anybody, but to say, like, in general, when that happens, it's important for us as adults to acknowledge that where we fall short, because we can do something about it. For our kids, they need that role modeling, they need the explicit instruction, and they need the opportunity to practice it. So
I think we talking about the same thing. I think the disconnect right here is one thing. You cannot model behavior you don't know. So, and the only way to measure if you know this is prove it. I can measure, I don't want to put you on spot. I measure his job based off how many reels he puts out. You can talk all day long, but ain't no reel up. You ain't did it. So we watching people say, I don't have to take that. There's nothing wrong with me. But this little girl who's 7, this little boy who's 6, so-and-so that's 8 gets kicked out of school. You don't give him no moral lesson, no nothing. You're like, that kid, he's bad. This book would have told you that's not the answer. I want you to read it. So I think what we hear from parents and as advocates when we go out for them, and again, it's not you. I love that you're here.
Thanks.
I think what we hear from them, the consensus be, why do we keep having to put our children in front of you? And we get penalized and the kid get penalized. But by the numbers, we're not seeing the teachers apologize. Now, sometimes it could be healthy sometimes just to even apologize for somebody. People don't even want to do that.
Right.
Just to appease the kid. Hey, I'm sorry that happened for you. Give him a couple minutes. But you're responsible for my kid. And you come back and you tell me, he has his F and he has this and he has a D and he didn't do this. He didn't do that because he didn't feel comfortable in here. And why don't you take some accountability for that? But I think that's what people are saying. But
So there's also this to piggyback off you, right? When what we see in the classes there is 34, 35 kids to 38 kids to one teacher. How does that work? You're not going to be able to maintain all of those kids because they're calling us into these classes to intervene every day, almost every class, right? And this is what we're seeing. Almost every class. We have gotten an assignment that we need 33, we need 42, we need 58. We're in the gym. We're in both gyms on the playground.
But here's the difference. No matter what job we get there, we know how to show up for the kid.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's where we're at with this emotional intelligence, right? I get it. Teachers are not mandated to take it. But how can you be in this profession and really not grab a hold of that, really not grasp that concept that I have to be emotionally intelligent to put up with, to deal with these 34, 37 kids that I have to be with every day in transition of
the whole day.
elementary school to high school.
Right.
We're in the most relevant part of these students' lives right now, because this is for me, make or break aspect of school. 7th and 8th grade is where we're at, and that is when it started going bad for me. But no one was able to talk to me about the things that I was going through. What we're able to talk to these kids and just find out, like, you've been sitting here for an hour and nurse just skipped over you because of what? You had a bad day 3 days ago and you're mad?
It was messed up that he had to point out why he was mad.
Absolutely.
He knew exactly why she did that.
Absolutely.
He knew exactly why.
But
so basically what I'm hearing from you is that there was never a reset from the adult.
No.
It's just
Yeah, we
a
reset
holding
for-
of a grudge.
It's the kids
No,
that
there
are
was no
reset.
grudge. You just completely ignored him. He didn't do nothing.
No. It was a grudge. If I'm intentionally ignore you, I'm pissed off, and you probably were disrespectful to me. So you can wait.
You're gonna feel it right now.
Right.
You're gonna feel my hurt, my pain right now, which is not emotionally intelligent.
I get it.
It's not. You're taking it out on these kids who are right
Already
now
emotionally
emotionally wounded and traumatized from whatever's been going on, and we're not getting any help from these kids except for when we come in and we talk to them.
Yeah.
Now it's, oh, he's been doing great, or she's been doing excellent. I wonder why. Because we asked them a few questions. We talked to them. We gave them that time. We gave them that energy. And that's all it is that they were really looking for. It's just that time and that energy. Just give us that time. Ask me how I'm doing today. Don't just come into class and say, hey, you sit down, take your backpack off, undo your headphones, take this, get rid of that. And now the kid is tripping and we got to come intervene.
Yeah. So I've forgotten to say this whole conversation. You're listening to Black versus the Board of Education. We are sitting with Area 4 trustee Delia Baldwin. And as you can see, we just keep throwing stuff at her, and she's probably like, they are crazy.
Got me in a hot seat.
Oh,
But James, it's on you.
I was going to ask, like, everyone's saying brilliant stuff here. And I was going to say, like, when is it, and I hope you're taking it just as much as I am, like, when does this eventually become just a mandatory thing for this wellness thing? Like, for wellness programs to actually be implemented in schools, either, I would say indefinitely, or just to have that support system while they're teaching.
I think it's just an important conversation. This needs to keep happening here. Parents need to be bringing this up to their administrators and saying, especially when they see examples of it. It don't need to happen to your kid to say something, right? It can happen and you witness it, say something. We expect that of our kids. And it's important that we would hold ourselves accountable to that as adults. And so when we get to a place, I think too, what matters is that, like, when it comes to emotional intelligence, social emotional learning, these are things that if you want to do it well, you have to want to learn it. You have to want to see the improvement it's going to make in your life. How
Continue
much
practicing.
easier
Absolutely.
it's going to make your job, when you're frustrated, but if you take a moment to regulate your
understand what it is.
emotions, yes, and see the problem for what it is, and not blame or grudge or I'm going to take my emotion out on you now. You won't have to work in such an escalated state, right? You can, we do require trainings around like de-escalation, but I don't think people always make the connection that these are the same concepts.
Right.
Like, you won't have to de-escalate if you are emotionally intelligent.
Right.
But again, I think with fidelity, it really starts. I think we're in a good place because we've come really far. This was never something taught when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
And I'm not that old. I was in high school in the 2000s, and so.
Oh, you a baby.
Super.
I like to look.
I'm like, wait, dude, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that we're getting there, and change is slow. It can be slow sometimes. But But I think once adults recognize that it's going to do you all the like benefit to improve, then I think we'll really make more gains on that. But it does start with our babies. You can't teach SEL, right, if you don't know at least what the content is, and we do provide that. So we do provide.
They just got to pay attention.
Yeah, we do provide curriculum around it, and so it's going to get taught no matter what, whether or not you as an adult going to practice it. You kind of making your own job harder if you choose not to.
Yeah.
Your life harder.
So I couldn't have you here and be non-controversial. So I want to shout out that one teacher that I saw this weekend at the Black College Fair, who was shaking when I walked up to her to introduce myself. I had no idea who she was, but I do know your secret. I wanted to ask you kind of, about the curriculum, like nigger bucks that was going through your schools, and the fact that a staffer or an administrator is the one who came up with that lesson. How are you planning to hold people accountable for their missteps? Everything can't be a mistake for an adult, but doom and gloom for the kid when they do it. So how are we going to start holding people accountable instead of hiding them and allowing them to transfer schools? How are we going to start holding them accountable when they harm our students in the way that I've seen in the last year?
Yes. So when it comes to
because you
personnel.
Wait. So didn't you say, "Oh my God," when I saw you come through the door, "Ooh, Lorene's go get us"?
Oh yeah, girl, I knew it. I was like, she gonna light us up. Well, and I think that's kind of where it starts, right? Like I think that a lot of I remember that night very vividly because it was probably like maybe my third meeting. I hadn't even been on the board that long, and I was just like, okay, we gonna get it. But I was on the other end of that. I was one of those parents that would have to come to board meetings and speak about my son being left from his bus route, and he was 3 years old at the time. Like I had to talk about a teacher just not providing my daughter her accommodations as part of her 504, and how she's being literally mistreated. And so I've been on that side of the meetings where we just have to lay it out, right? We have to be very open, clear, passionate. We had members from the community that were crying.
Yeah.
I was crying on the dais. Like I could not listen to all of it and not express I'm very emotionally intelligent. So I was trying to like regulate, right? All the just what I was going through in that moment, but it doesn't match what our kiddos had to go through and the community had to go through when this came to light. And I think that I think the best way is for us to continue to keep space for that, so that we can be accountable at our meetings, so that we can hear the community, because having that is powerful to be able to hear and then have the conversations that are necessary. Because when it comes to personnel matters, like we can't have those publicly. There's certain things we can do publicly and certain things we can't do. But the conversations that we have with the superintendent and the cabinet and HR, you better believe it's going to be fed by what we're experiencing, right? From the meetings that we're having and the letters that we're receiving and the concerns that are coming from the community. So I think in ways like it's very important for us to continue that accountability, making space, being transparent, owning when we're wrong, and being very clear that no, we will not tolerate this. This is not appropriate. Yeah. So
me and Mr. Chastain have to leave out of here. We're about to start BBSN, but I appreciate your time in here. And I wanted to talk to you some more about what you was just talking about now. What actually happens after those board meetings? A lot of people say, what do they do with the information? And you spoke on it, and that'd be a great topic too. But thank you, respectfully.
So what happens after the board meetings?
So these are all the information. So when during public comment, we can't engage in a dialogue with the public, but we can hear it. And then during if it's something that the cabinet can address, they will try and go and connect with any member of the public that brings their issue But if
If they like you, they'll engage with you afterwards.
if they have a quick solution, they're going to engage with you.
If they like you.
But if it's something bigger that requires research, it doesn't just end at the board meeting. These are things that will continue to come to us in board communications, where we will engage in conversations either with cabinet, with the superintendent, and we want to know what's going on.
Right.
In closed session, we do talk about personnel matters, and we do talk about the details and what's going to happen to the accountability, so though we cannot talk about that in public, but it's still something that's being addressed.
Right.
I think that it's important that people know that just because one meeting we had subjects on certain things, it doesn't necessarily stop there.
Yeah.
It's going to continue until we feel good about where we're at, and we've given it the appropriate attention and addressed it fully.
And you have one more question in the chat. It says, what is the deal breaker when personnel can get fired? And I think that, again, that is a question for a superintendent, right? Because board members don't do that, right? They only hire and fire the superintendent. And so the deal breaker I have seen for folks to get fired, showing up to work intoxicated, any type of sexual things going on with students. I've seen that. And I don't know if I've seen much else, but do you know of any?
I mean, I think if the worst case scenario you think of is probably going to be a pretty justifiable reason, but honestly, it's going to come down to our policies. And if you breach your contract, if you break a policy, you're in clear violation and there's clear evidence, all personnel matters, though, we do have to have conversations with the bargaining units. And so it's not a clear, black and white answer. It's very gray. It just depends on every situation, and then giving it the due process that's required by policy.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do rapid fire. We'll give y'all 30 seconds to say your last questions. Miss Melissa, we'll start with you.
First of all, you seem very passionate, so thank you so much for even being here and making it very clear that you want there to be change. My last question is, what is going to, even when it gets hard and you feel like you're maybe not being heard, what is going to motivate you to keep going to initiate this change?
Really just to reach out to Miss Laureen and BYLP and just stay connected to the community, because they're the reason I'm here.
I'm really cool. I know people think I'm super mean, but I am really cool and I really love people. I just don't like foolishness.
Right. And that's what I need, is that perspective, right? It's important because, when you're one person, there's only so much you have capacity for. So it's important to be reaching out to your network. It's important to get the other perspective, tell me what's going on with this, I want to know more about what they experienced and shared today, right? If I don't get that, then I can't be informed enough to be able to continue to do the work I'm going to need to do and to make the decisions that I need to make with my counterparts. So it's really important for me to make sure that I'm just still connected, and then I don't lose sight of where I come from, my passion, why I think that ultimately the current board selected me to be on the board, and now it's going to be up to the public to see the work I've done and decide for themselves if I'm someone worth keeping there to represent our district.
Awesome. James.
Well said. That was well said.
That's emotional intelligence right there. Yeah.
Do you have a quick question, sir? Because we're running out of time.
I do not.
Okay. Maddie,
Okay.
You have a quick question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering about what legacy you hope to leave if you're reelected.
So I would just hope that my children would look at me and be proud and feel really good about who their mom is and what she stands for, and that she don't just fight for her own babies, she fights for all babies.
I love that. I love that. Now, you're running for re-election. You got 30 seconds to tell the people why you are the most qualified candidate for this position.
Indeed. So, I'm an open book. I love to engage with the community. Prior to this, I was doing work with the Diversity and Equity Inclusion Commission for the city. It's something that I care deeply about. And, I'm really excited to continue doing this great work and really being a good representative for Area 4, but not just Area 4, for the whole district, because I really do care about all children reaching their highest potential.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard it here first. Miss Donetta said you got her vote.
Thank you, Miss Donetta.
You know, and we need more of these types of conversations. We need more of these type of platforms where we can question the folks who are running to represent us and really learn about them and their life and, you know, what they plan to do once they get into the seat. So thank you so much for your time. We didn't scare you too much, did we?
No, it was good. It was good.
Okay.
I would do it again.
Oh, well, you gonna come back then since you said it. So y'all check out Miss Delia. If she's on your ballot, make sure you cast your vote. If you've loved what she had to say, if you have more questions, go ahead and email us and we'll get them to her and she will be sure to answer them because like she said, she's an open book. So with that, we're going to hit y'all with the peace sign. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.